pays good stuff.
It actually costs me money to do this, and they still give me crap. Good evening. This meeting of the Planning Commission for the City of East Ridge for April the 14th will now come to order. Ms. Dietrich, can I get a roll call, please?
Chairperson Tuggle,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Howe,
Here.
Commission Member Cornelius,
Here.
Commission Member Williams,
Here.
Commission Member Witt.
Here.
Thank you. And Trust, you've had the opportunity to review the minutes from the November 4th and January 15th meetings. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 4th, is it April 14th? January 15th and April 14th.
And actually, it'd be November 4th and January 15th if you wanted to make a motion on those.
November 4th in there, okay.
We have a motion to approve November 4th and January 15th minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Dietrich, when you're ready, roll call, please.
Vice Chairperson Howe,
I think I have to abstain from November. Not present.
You want here in?
I want to say I'm sorry, I should know this.
Yes, you're here.
Okay, yes. Sorry, just making sure I'm doing the right thing.
are we good?
Yes.
So, Vice Chairperson Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Cornelius,
November 4th abstain and January yes.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, the next item is for communications and comments by the public. I generally do these before each agenda item. And if anybody has a burning need to leave, let me know. But typically, as we go through the items, if we can do the comments on that one so everybody can keep it straight. There is no old business, so we'll go directly into new business and the comments on those. We'll hear first from the city's representative, Mr. Howell, and then we'll have an opportunity for the public to speak, and then we can have the applicant respond and speak, et cetera. So for 6A, under new business, we'll consider the request of Camille Stone, Stone Source Management, to have the property located at 1512 John Ross Road, tax map ID number 168AN037, rezoned from R1 Residential District to R2 Duplex District. Mr. Howell.
Yes, good evening, members of the Planning Commission. The request to rezone this existing structure is to use it as a short-term vacation rental. Staff findings in this particular parcel or the neighborhood is characterized as long-term owner-occupied single-family homes. Introducing transient lodging in the form of vacation rental could disrupt an establishment residential character, resulting in increased noise, parking, and parking congestion. This would basically be spot zoning. Approval of this rezone could set a precedent for a similar request, leading to cumulative impacts and gradual shift away from intended use of single-family residential neighborhoods. Staff recommendation is to deny this.
Thank you. And I do have one question. As you know, we generally will disapprove spot zones at any point, but considering all the land across the street is the same zone as what's requested, what constitutes a spot zone versus adjoining?
All of the designated residential area in that for the Glen Oaks is all R1 residential. What you have across the street there off John Ross is all legal conforming duplexes, which is zoned R2 and is separated by John Ross. So it is not actually abutting a property. So in this case, if you did rezone the 1512, that would be spot zoning this particular area and open up more R2 in this area.
Any other questions? No questions from the commission? Okay, we'll entertain comments from the public, and then we'll bring up the developer as well. If you can bear with me just a moment. So they're actually first in the agenda, so I usually give them first crack. If anybody wants to come up and speak either in favor or against the agenda item of A, please do so now. If you can keep your comments to 2 minutes. And when you approach the lectern, I'll give you further instructions. Come on up. When you come up, please give your name and your address, please.
Bobby Bowling. I live 3629 Glen Oaks Drive. First of all, I'd like to apologize. I couldn't hear any of that, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. But the piece of property on the corner, and the way I understand it, to be a Airbnb, it has to be a duplex or a triplex or something. According to East Ridge statutes, it's not supposed to be single-family residential, which is what that is currently zoned as. So it seems to me as though they are instead of trying to get it zoned for Airbnb, they're trying to sneak around and change it into a duplex.
I don't think that's entirely, Mr. Howell, the existing structure doesn't change. The zoning, according to the city law, would have to change. It doesn't actually change the existing structure, but it does mean they could tear it down and build something different in the future if they wanted to. I don't think that's the intention. Is that the way you understand it?
Sorry, that is correct. So the R2 district would allow for single-family dwellings, but as you stated, if something were to happen in this house, or if they wanted to tear it down, they could put a duplex there. Like you said, the zoning does not actually say that you have to, or a short-term vacation rental has to be operated out of an R or a duplex. It just, our ordinance just states that it has to be, the districts that can't be used as short-term vacation rentals are R1, RT1, and RZ1, so.
Right. So it can continue being what it is now, just with a different use, which
But it
is,
couldn't be our Airbnb what it's zoned now, right?
it cannot. It would have to be
Right.
changed to this zoning that's applied for to be an Airbnb. That's correct.
We're changing it to R2 in order to make it Airbnb.
But it does allow them to build a duplex in the future if it's approved.
Right, they
They
could
could.
build a
They
duplex.
could.
If something happened to the existing owner and he
Sure.
sold it or whatever, it would be considered R2. so
It
you
could be.
put a
That's
duplex
right.
or
Just like the
whatever,
stuff across the street. Yeah.
right? Okay, so yeah, it goes into this neighborhood, it's all single-family dwelling, just like he said, I did hear that part. And, I don't think anyone wants it to be that way,
Sure.
so I guess that's all I've got.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Anybody else either in favor or against? I have one more. And I saw you as well, so we'll get you next. If you can give your name and address, please, and then keep it to 2 minutes if possible.
Okay, I'm Ed Lively, 1807 Glen Oaks Terrace. One thing that I kind of have an objection to is we have only one road coming in off of John Ross, which goes right by the house that they're talking about. And they park on the street occasionally, and if you have an Airbnb there, you're gonna have people parking on the street, more, it may be 1 week, it may be the next week. It looks like it's gonna cause a traffic problem for us because we have a house that was built on the other corner, on a very small lot. And they have a driveway which they park in, which blocks the view of, Georgia. And this would block the view the other way if they, park too close, so. It just looks like it'd be add to the traffic problems in the area.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Same instructions. If you give your name and address, please, and keep it 2 minutes if possible.
My name is Lisa Tester. I live at 3621 Glen Oaks Drive. I was born and raised here in East Ridge, lived here pretty much all my life. I have a couple of points to make. Number one, I agree with Mr. Lively. It's the house across the street. We came and objected to it then. They said they would only be going in and out of John Ross Road, and that has not turned out to be the case. It does come out onto John Ross Road. The past month or so, I have noticed them now that they park in front on the side of the street on John Ross. And so what we find is as we leave John Ross Road to turn onto Glen Oaks Drive, that car is right there, and it's too close to the stop sign anyway, but it's right there, and you're on top of it slamming on your brakes if the other car is coming down the hill. So we already have problems with that when we were told at that commission meeting that that would never happen. But we have that problem now. The second thing is yeah, we are zoned R2 across the street, and you can go over there anytime and get an apartment because people are being evicted once a week. So there's always a place open there if they're looking for a duplex. We don't need it on this small lot right where we're at. And then my other concern is that I am a school nurse at East Ridge Middle and East Ridge High School. When I see so many people who live in apartments or in duplexes, I see literally no interaction in our community. They don't come to if they have kids that come to the school, they don't come to the school. They don't volunteer to help do anything in the community because they're paying rent there. They're not living there. They're just there till they can afford to go someplace else. And so all three of those are the things that I come up with. And along with the fact that a couple of years ago, we had somebody was renting a house up in Glen Oaks, and we had a horrible problem that we were being robbed all the time until someone in the neighborhood put a camera on the street so that we could watch, and then it finally stopped. But we get people across the street walking up in our neighborhood all the time, and we don't know who they are, which is okay. But who do we determine if they're up there for maybe not a good reason, but scoping things out? So I just feel like all these reasons are, I guess, how we feel like we don't want that to be a duplex there. It doesn't need to be. It does block the view from either way. So I guess those are my reasons that it doesn't need to be there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I think I see one more, okay. Good evening. If you could give your name and address, please.
On 3609 Glen Oaks Drive. And I think a big concern is you're zoning it to R2. They may want to have an Airbnb, but what happens when they sell it and then the person that buys it wants to build duplexes there? We have enough of them parking on the street as it is. And we have a lot of new families in our neighborhood with small children. We just don't need that.
Sure, thank you. Yes, I think that's the right read. It's not the now. Right. Yes, hi. Name and address, please.
I'm Brenda Freeman Short. I live at 3630 Glen Oaks Drive. And thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to speak. My husband and I have lived about 30 years in Glen Oaks. We love it there. It's a wonderful community, and we want to keep, the camaraderie that we have there. And I know that there was a time in East Ridge when the population, it dwindled some and it wasn't quite as good. We didn't have the reputation of the city as we do now, but thanks to great leadership, we have businesses that have come into the city, and the older houses that are kind of dilapidated, they're selling them and they're building new houses, and so we have new people coming in, and we have a lot of new families and children that are coming in. And in Glen Oaks, we have about 3 families that have babies, and it's just wonderful, to have that, and so we're so proud of it. But changing from an R1 to an R2 in the code system would mean that the area is rezoned as for commercially, as was spoken. I won't go over that again that we spoke before, but these are the concerns. We have concerns of the rezoning, that it will change the character of the neighborhood, possibly with more people, traffic concerns, safety, and also harm our property value, a decrease in our property value. We're very concerned about that because we love our neighborhood. We love East Ridge. In fact, I was elected as a charter member it's been several years ago, so I know the importance of community involvement in being a part of that. But we don't know the quality of life that would be brought into the city. We don't know if it'd be disturbing the peace. We don't know if it would be partying. We don't know anything about that. We can only assume that some things like that would happen. But I guess my question is, why would Mr. Allman want to change the zoning ordinance for financial gain? And, it's not been discussed with the neighbors as far as I know. And we're not trying to be rude, but we want to protect, we worked hard to have a good neighborhood, and we want to keep it that way. We love the city. We choose to live here. We choose to live here. And I'm so thankful that now when I talk about my city, people see the change and they're proud. And I just don't want anything to disturb that. Not being disrespectful, but I just want to protect my neighborhood.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, if there's not anybody else, we'll ask the applicant to come up and address concerns. Anybody further? Okay. Yes, and if you could also give your name and address, and then feel free to give your presentation and address the concerns of the public if you'd like.
The address of the property?
Actually, your address.
Okay. My name is Camille Stone, and I reside at 6574 East Brainerd Road. And I'm the owner of Stone Source Management. I'm so appreciative that so many people came out to express their concerns, and I do understand. I think the main thing that I would like to address is the misconception that people have about short-term vacation. I'm standing in for Richard Altman today. He is the owner, he is the homeowner, and he and his girlfriend, they are retired and they want to travel. And the reason they wanted to do short-term vacation rental is so that they would still be able to come home through the week, but also be able to support their travels with their home. This house is a brand new house. It burnt down a couple years ago, to my understanding. Mr. Howe could attest to that, because I know he was on that when they put everything brand new in this house and completely rebuilt it. So they definitely do not have any plans to tear it down and turn it into a duplex. One of the issues that I heard come up was about parking. There is a really long driveway on the John Ross side, and I don't foresee anybody ever using that for the, parking on the street. As a matter of fact, that would be one of the main things that would be one of the rules for guests. The wonderful thing about using short-term vacation rental, I've been doing this for 8 years, and I vet every single person that stays at my Airbnbs. As a matter of fact, we have 2 more Airbnbs that are on South Seminole. It's right in front of the Freedom Church, and they belong to the church. We never have any issues there, and the church is so happy. They definitely want to make sure that they have good guests coming in, because it sits in the church parking lot. They don't want beer bottles and, wild parties or anything like that, because they are a church community, and that has been working great for the last 2.5 years. One of the other things that I wanted to make sure that I touched on is that not only do we never want this house to be a duplex, but if he were to get renters, if we get bad renters, they're harder to get rid of. If he can rent his house out to anybody he wants to, whether it's a duplex or not, or whether we're approved today, Richard can rent his house out. If he doesn't get quality renters in there, that's where you have a real problem. That's who you have a hard time getting rid of. That's who might be comparable to the duplexes across the street. And this was one of the main things that Richard and I talked about when he approached me about wanting to do this with his home. We talked about several different options, and I said the best way to make sure that your neighbors have quality people visiting is for us to do short-term vacation rental, and they have to go through my entire vetting process before every single stay.
Great. Thank you. Are any questions from the commission for the applicant?
No.
I have one more question from the audience.
I just wanted to say that he's already got the house rented. Yes. It's already rented. It's not.
If you don't mind, anything you say, can you please say it to the microphone? I hate to make y'all switch places, but the recorder cannot record if it's not recorded.
No, I just wanted
And
to
if
say,
you don't mind giving your name again.
my name is Lisa Tester.
Thank
I live
you.
at 3621 Glen Oaks Drive.
Okay, now they know who you are. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say the house is already being rented. And the house that they built across the street from there, and to quote you, I think has a bomb-ass driveway coming off John Ross Road too. But they don't like doing that because it's very difficult to come in and out, which then means they'll come in and put another one coming off of John Ross.
Sure.
So again, same situation, John Ross Road, they don't like it, so then they come to Glen Oaks, and that's where it's starting to get clogged up now. So I just wanted to say it, and the house is already rented. So we're already in that situation if we were going to be so combative about it.
Right.
But the house, when they redid it, went up in value tremendously. So they could easily sell that house and go somewhere else and build a duplex if that were the thing. I think East Ridge is bombarded with rental property now. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Sorry for the switching. It's we only have one microphone for both parties, so.
So to what she said, yes, we do have someone staying in the house. He is a professional that he stays for more than 30 days, which is something that is also allowed if he stays more than 30 days. And he will be with us for the next 4 months. And that's what we decided to do until we went through the process of being able to get approved. That platform is called Furnish Finder, and we work with traveling nurses, traveling anesthesiologists. We only work with professionals, and that's who's staying there right now. That was the only thing that he was gonna be allowed to do because we can't do short-term vacation rental without your approval. And then I think she's still under the impression that we're trying to do a duplex there. It's not a duplex, it's a house, and we wanna keep it as a house. It's a beautiful house, it's just been rebuilt, so.
With a bomb-ass driveway, that's right. Any other questions from the commission? Anybody?
And also to address the parking issue, again, not only is it a long driveway, but there's also a turnaround space. Anytime I'm ever there at the house, before I get ready to back out, I back into the turnaround space and I can pull out onto John Ross forward facing. So we just don't have that issue.
I see, thank you. All right, there being no further questions, I would entertain a motion from the commission.
I make a motion to deny the request. I too have been in your neighborhood in the last couple of weeks. I feel your pain. It scared me to death to pull out, but that's neither here nor there. But I just can't do this rezoning. I can't do short-term rentals.
All right, have a motion from Commission Member Witt. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. I too have nothing against short-term rental. I have more heartburn on the R2 zoning. I know it may be a new house, but, you know, we're setting a zoning statute that is out into the future. It always could be rezoned back to R1, but I don't want to take the chance of zoning it to an R2 and having that availability to a potential duplex. I know there are R2s across the street, but this is the entrance to this neighborhood, and we passed a resolution a little over a year ago to protect the single-family residential neighborhoods. It was unanimous by the council. I supported it, and I continue to support it. So I've got to second that motion to deny it.
Can I make a comment?
Sure. Why not?
You know, our neighbors in the city of Chattanooga have had quite a time managing and handling what they want to do with short-term vacation rental. Eastridge originally was very progressive in determining that multifamily would allow short-term vacation rental and that we would keep and maintain our single-family residential home and neighborhoods. And for that reason, I just can't allow this rezone. It is a beautiful home. It's also a beautiful neighborhood. But yes, I agree with my fellow commission members. And I also want to thank the applicant for, you know, going through the process of trying to do this in the right way.
Yes.
Because there are other people that probably wouldn't have done the same. So thank you.
To clarify, we'll put that in the form of a vote in a moment. Since we're giving comments, I may be the only person on the commission that actually owns property on John Ross Road. So for the past 17 years, I have owned 1123 John Ross Road, and I also own 1119 John Ross Road. I lived in 1123 for 10 years. I don't care. I'm a fan of, yes, in my backyard, density has to come from somewhere. However, I also don't live in Glen Oaks, and I'm sensitive to the interests of Glen Oaks. I do live on John Ross. I don't live in Glen Oaks. So for that reason, I will be voting accordingly. Any other comments? All right. If we can get a roll call, please, Ms. Dietrich. And remember, a vote of yes, since this is a request to deny, a vote yes is to deny.
Chairperson Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Cornelius,
Yes.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you want to see Mr. Howell after the meeting, he'll explain further steps on that.
Okay.
All right, the next item, 6B on your agenda, is to consider the request of Camille Stone, Stone Source Management, to have the property located at 6510 Ringgold Road, tax map ID number 169LM017, and tax map ID 169LM017.01, rezoned from C1 Tourism Commercial District to C4 Planned Commerce Center District. Mr. Howell.
Yes, this request to rezone is to convert an existing motel into a mixed-use development with retail and apartments. It is the intent to promote flexibility and diversity in the development and maintenance of the C4 plans commercial districts, which are complementary and appropriate to surrounding neighborhoods in keeping with the general plan of the community, and subject to such conditions and safeguards as may be established to assure insofar as possible that development will protect and enhance the value of surrounding property in addition to fulfilling public needs in the community and region. Staff findings on this parcel, it is compatible with adjacent land uses with a mix of residential, office, and commercial use. It's compatible with the development form and single-family dwellings to the south and commercial development to the east and west along Ringgold Road. Proposed multifamily use is similar to the existing motel use, so that there is no nuisance concern. Introduction of retail at a street front will enhance pedestrian activity, contribute to economic development, and create a more vibrant and walkable mixed-use environment. Staff recommends approval of the proposed rezoning request with conditions. A screen trash enclosure shall be installed in location approved by the chief building official. Off-street parking shall be restriped and upgraded to meet current parking requirements, including ADA compliant spaces. Separate and exclusive pedestrian entrances and exit for permanent residents shall be provided, other than those in addition to those used for access to the principal commercial area, and provided that separate and exclusive parking areas for the use of permanent residents shall be perpetually maintained. Perimeter landscaping shall be installed to adjacent residential use, type B 20-foot landscaping buffer required to provide visual screening from proposed residential apartments. Property zone commercial and manufacturing to the east. If the landscaping buffer cannot be met, then a privacy fence 6 feet in height must be installed. To break up the expanse of asphalt, no parking space can be more than 60 feet from a tree. End of all interior parking bays that contain 10 parking spaces shall be bordered on both sides by landscape island. Ends of perimeter parking bay shall be bordered by landscaping peninsula. Parking requirements for residential use are to follow the amended C4 parking requirements within the Ringgold Road corridor. Multifamily buildings exterior shall be rehabilitated with paint, design treatments consistent with that of the architectural design requirements of the City of East Ridge and approved by the review committee before a building permit is issued. There shall be no deviation of the design renderings provided of the commercial retail space fronting Ringgold Road. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits and bring construction to full compliance with current building, fire, electrical, and plumbing codes. Fire suppression system, sprinkler system, and monitored fire alarm system will be installed and approved by the fire marshal before occupancy. Since this is a change of use, units in common space areas shall comply with ADA standards for accessible design, including ADA compliant A and B residential units. Full-time on-site property management shall be provided. Management contact information shall be posted in the front entrance and provided to the city. The applicant shall submit a security plan to the East Ridge Police Department for review and approval. The plan shall include surveillance cameras at all entrance and exits in the parking areas, controlled access systems if feasible, exterior security lighting. All outdoor lighting shall be downcast and shielded to prevent glare or spillover to adjacent properties. Use restrictions. The site shall not be used for hotels, motels, or short-term vacation rentals or transitional housing purposes. All units shall be rented as permanent housing. Each unit shall be limited to the occupants based on the square footage as outlined in the adopted codes of the City of East Ridge, unless otherwise approved by the building official. Prior to occupancy, the building shall pass final inspection and receive certificate of occupancy from the City of East Ridge. The property shall be subject to an annual review by the city staff for a period of 2 years. Continued issues may result in enforcement action or revocation of occupancy approvals. Sorry, that was very long.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Sounds like you've had an opportunity to read the application.
Job.
Yeah.
You need a water? Okay. So I do have a question then on page 2, number 9 of the
Yes.
first number 9. It said the building's exterior should be rehabilitated, et cetera. I was understanding from the nature of this being mixed use that one of the buildings at least was going to be a demolition and rebuild.
That is correct. My understanding, Justin has explained to me that the front building will be demolished and make way. That's in the packet tonight.
Okay.
And that was noted in here as well which I apologize. I didn't include it in your guys' packet, but there shall be no deviation from what has been presented to the body tonight.
Sure.
In the packet.
And I understand there's going to be a presentation here in a moment. It'll give us a better idea. When they were testing the monitors, I saw that it was going from 150 units to 80 units. Here it goes. So I think you guys can see this as well. So I'm assuming there will be some combination. They won't just be single bedroom. There would be other uses, but will the applicant speak to that? Any questions for Mr. Howell before we speak to the applicant?
I do.
Okay.
So in section D, use restriction number 13, can you define permanent? Is there a length in, you say no short-term rental, are you looking at 3 months, 6 month, year? What type of rental / lease?
Short-term vacation rentals. I do apologize.
He's asking what is permanent housing?
Yeah, you stated all units shall be rented as permanent housing. What do you consider permanent? Is that a 6 month lease? Is that a year lease? What?
That would be dependent, well, permanent housing would depend on their.
But you're not putting a restriction in this here on the length of the rental agreement?
No.
Are we permitted to do so?
That would be up to the body if
I mean, we are, if
We can.
we can.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. I like
I
that.
understood. Yeah.
Definitive
I got where you were going.
definition of permanent, yeah.
Sure. Defined permanent. Okay. And I know typically we were letting the audience speak first, but since they have a presentation, I'm gonna let the applicant go through the presentation, and then we can go through the audience's feedback so we can answer some of the questions ahead of time. So if a representative from the applicant wants to speak, or the applicant himself. And if you can give your name and address, please.
Justin Cox, 7013 Levi Road. So this is
Yeah,
a little
you
bit-
can see it above your head behind you. You'll just have to kind of lean towards the microphone and yell a lot.
Okay.
Or you can turn the microphone around and stand this way.
You can hold it like Bob Barker.
I don't know which is my better side, my back side.
Yeah, no, you look much better facing that way.
Sorry, that's inappropriate. Okay, my name is Justin Cox, and I live up in Hickson near Falling Water. I want to say thank you for having me here tonight. I really appreciate it and giving us this opportunity. Michael, it's good to see you again. We seem to live at that property for a few years. And while I don't live in East Ridge, I've been a Hamilton County boy my entire life and absolutely love it. While I've traveled most of the world, I could not think of a better place in the world to live. This property we purchased back in 2019, and it was rough, really, really rough. And we set out to make it something really nice for ourselves. Well, fortunately for my kids one day, but also for the community. I wanted something that I could be proud of. And so we turned this property that was literally falling into a really nice 150 unit hotel. You can see it here. Some of the things that we're going to talk tonight about who we are, the vision and the project's vision, apartment design, the financial aspects, retail space, and implementation of the plan and timeline, okay? Who we are. There's 5 of us partners. I think that'll come up here in just a second. Sorry, it's a little slow. There's 5 of us. Again, we invested into this back in 2019. We manage over $80 million worth of assets in real estate. We currently have projects from Sell Creek to Dalton, Georgia. Here in East Ridge, Chattanooga, we have 10.5 acres near the Austin building. I like building and designing and thinking about the community. The most recent one is the property up on Signal Mountain that we just took, and are really looking for what the community wants and needs. We invested almost $10 million into this project. It needed more help than I thought when we bought it. Literally, we raised this building about a ½ inch off the ground. Michael knows this. He and I both thought we were crazy. But we lifted it about a ½ inch and put 150 tandem loads of aggregate underneath, rebuilt its foundations, and brought this thing back into a safe, beautiful structure that guests in the area could stay in. We put in high quality finishes, from 12-inch cooling foam mattresses to real solid wood furniture. It was not that pressboard. It was a value of mine to do a really good job on this property. The next slide. So one of the reasons why we're wanting to do this is the property is only using about 1/3 of itself at a normal time. But what we not only is it only using itself about a third of the time, but like during the summer we may max it out a couple of weekends, but it's really not getting its full use and stewardship for the community. So here's what we want to do as we propose this for the city. We want to bring this, our back building, there's 2, and you can't see it here, but the top picture here illustrates the back set of buildings, okay? And currently there's 96 units in that. And so when we're finished with the apartments will be from 80 to 96, depending on what the architects tell us and what a planning allows for. It sounds like I have my work cut out for me, Michael, on all of the details that I have to go through and meet for you over there.
A lot of it's in the C4 already.
Sure. So I have a lot to go through and make sure that I make Michael happy. But what we're looking for is utilizing that in its fullest in the back, and then the front building will come down, and a new building that will cater to retail space, food, those kinds of things will go in that front space right along Ringgold Road. We currently have 2 national chains that have put up a letter of intent to utilize that space. Of course, we can't do anything until you guys, and hopefully you guys, want something out there that can be used a little bit more. So one of the things that we know when we let people come to our current hotel, they walk in, they throw their credit card down, and we have to say yes. Those units in the back, they actually give us the opportunity to look at the person, do a background check, qualify their income, make sure that they actually have a way to pay for it. It also allows us to get references. And so we're not having people just transient in and out every day. We can really qualify these people. It allows for those businesses that are coming up front to have more people that can work in those facilities, enhance the standard of living by providing residents with amenities and quality of life that are good for that property and the people that will be living there. And then we believe that this will increase the value of the properties nearby, both business and residences, because of more activity in the area. So that is some of the reasons why we're going to do this. Actually went over these just a moment ago, but we really want to offer a sense of belonging to our residents and to the businesses out on the front. Community safety is very important to us. In fact, the people who had this hotel before us, police had to be there on a regular basis. That has not been the case with us. When we invested that kind of money, we believed in this community. And while I don't live in East Ridge, I believe in Hamilton County, and I love it. I put my money there, I put my time, hard work, and I want to see it succeed. This is a little bit of the design. So it's efficient. A lot of younger people, a lot of professionals, they are looking for something small, quick, easy to live, to sleep in, to eat in, but then to get out in the community, go out to eat, go see their friends at the park, go to work, and it's quick. It's much different than even the way me and my family live. But there's really a need for this. And we are trying to offer that, which is different. It is not the single family resident. It's not even the duplex. It is a place where people sleep and eat quickly, and then they're out with their friends, they're working and they're making money. And if we can build them a nice, healthy, good place to live, we'll have good neighbors because of it. So if you haven't had the opportunity to walk into the building, I mentioned we put a lot of money into doing it right. We did. I did not stop like 12-inch cooling foam mattresses for a hotel that isn't, like a 5-star hotel. That's a good day. But I like sleeping on nice mattresses. Do you? So that is why we did that. We valued, we wanted our guests to have. And that's not changing when it comes to an apartment. That's what we believe in, and that's what we're going to deliver with the property. There's a community pool, a place where they can walk their dogs in a controlled environment, so nobody has to deal with any mess except us. but the pups get to run and enjoy stretching their legs. And then having a fitness center where people are feeling good and having a way to continue in healthy life. The financial aspects and the pricing strategies, these apartments, including these utilities, will be around $950 to $1,250 a month. This ensures profitability for us while still being affordable for professionals and young people really moving into the market before they can find that home they can purchase. Let's skip this one real quick. So the residents will experience improved living conditions through the accessibility of affordable housing that they can get to. I'll never forget up in Red Bank, you're looking at a small, tiny 3-bedroom, 2-bath at $2,500. And so this really gets into something they can afford and only depend on themselves. We believe that if they live here, they're going to work here, and working here will give our businesses the relief they need to have the workers they need. And that next one, retail space on the front. We are proposing something that looks like cafes, coffee shops. We're going to go with boutique shops. Those are some of the ideas that would be available and this space would allow for. However, while I can't disclose to you the 2 national chains that have already given their letter of intent, none of those, it's not a cafe. And I don't even like coffee, so there you go. But that we do have two letters of intent, and I would eat at both of these locations. The next one, of course, what this really does for our community, and when I say our community, you live here, but I work here, and I have an investment here. And so every time that we have the ability to build something, and in fact, this is going to be a $3 million investment on our part into the community again. We've already put in almost $10 million. This will be another $3 million. And when we do this, the border region tax, there we go, will come back to the city and help with streets and development and all of those things so that we're not having to pay more taxes. And so this is a way that the state of Tennessee will be releasing money back to us so that we don't have to pay it out. And so by us making this investment, it's going to be better for everyone in this room, including me, because I pay taxes as a business owner. Job creation, stimulated economic growth. This is a very busy place, but it's good for our economy when it's right there on the interstate, and we're adding to that. We're not subtracting from it. We're making it nice and beautiful, and really something that, it just is a great first impression for East Ridge. So we're really excited to potentially do this with the community. Our time frame on this, it would take us about 18 months from the moment we're approved by the city. So from start to finish, we feel like we can do this in an 18-month time period. And I think we have one more slide. Securing permits, construction phases, and achieving occupancy. I don't know, and Chairperson, I don't know if we have to put this in here or at the next one, but one of the stipulations that we're asking for is that while the front buildings will come down and those new ones being constructed, we want to continue operating technically these are 3 buildings, okay? 2 in the back are adjoined. We are wanting to operate one continuing as our as our hotel, while the other one is being retrofitted and filled. As soon as that is done, we would do the other to the other with a time limit of 18 months. So we're not looking at it being indefinite, but we are looking to continue business. And as we're investing that $3 million into the community, we would like to keep our cash flow moving. It wouldn't change business for anyone. It would just keep cash flow coming into us. So that would be one of the things that we would need to amend to this plan.
Sure. I mean, it is a hotel currently. Mr. Howell, I'm sure we could put in an 18-month moratorium on the restriction for no hotels in the approval, right? I mean, for hotel operation.
Yes.
So that the change would take place after the remodel. But it's currently operating as a legal hotel anyway, so it's just continuing in its current use.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
And I think it's also important to note, I may have not heard this correctly, but the renderings here may look different depending upon the two letters of intent. So like one is wanting more space. So there wouldn't be like 5 units. There would be 1 unit with a lot more parking there. Mm-hmm. So that area is what we're wanting zoned, and then the design would be in keeping with this, of course. Michael, I don't know how we have to write that to make sure it's good and healthy for the community.
There's a design standard that wouldn't, I mean, that's something we'd work with the presumably franchisee on. So and by we, I mean Michael. So,
you know, I think it's important, and the reason why I bring that up, I think there are people that stand before you and these wonderful people behind me, and they make one promise, it goes through, and then it gets twisted and isn't delivered like it was said. If anybody in this room can say I deliver like I said I would, it's him. He at the end of the day, I said I was going to build a nice hotel, and at the end of the day, I got his signature, and I did it, and we kept it nice. So I don't mind you guys saying, no, you have to stay inside of this. I want full disclosure on that, but our intent is to build some really nice space up front so it makes money for the city too.
Well, he has stopped complaining about the property, so that says a lot. Okay. All right, any further questions from the commission? All right, any, I'm sorry,
I
go ahead.
I can go after the public.
Okay, and invite comments from the public. Anybody who wants to speak either in for or against the project, feel free. Yes, sir. And you should know by now, but you'll need to give your name and address, and if you can keep it to 2 minutes, please.
I'm Gary Tester. I live at 3621 Glen Oaks Drive. And I'm not really for or against the concept. My concern is that part of East Ridge has extremely difficult traffic issues now. And I didn't really see how that was going to be addressed, you know, in terms of entrance and egress, because it's a problem now. And with another more commercial property, I could see it potentially being worse. And that's not the developer's fault. You know, that area
Sure.
is a very difficult, crowded area on a good day, even on days when you wouldn't think so. It's very difficult. And I was just wondering if they could address that.
Sure, and I think we probably have more information in our packet than you do, but it looks like there is a two-way entrance on Ringgold Road, but it looks like there's also an egress on the Mac Smith, which I think there's a traffic light there. Is that the intention as you understand it, Mr. Howell?
That is correct.
And there's off-street parking existing, which would continue to be used for the retail space, but primarily I'm assuming you turn in off Ringgold Road and you turn out at the light at Mac Smith naturally. Is that the idea?
The way the C4 is designed, that if you do not have your residential on top of commercial facility and it's off and by itself, it has to have access to that pedestrian or to the facility itself.
Okay.
So you would be using Mac Smith Road for the multifamily. Yes, the retail up front would be used off Ringgold Road,
Right.
and I think that's the way the design are shown right now.
But there's no access from the retail to go out at Mac Smith? It'll be blocked.
That would be something Justin could, I didn't see that, I haven't seen a site plan, I've just seen the renderings on it.
Yeah. It's okay. All right, any further questions? Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Member Williams, did you have a question for the developer?
I do. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. So, have you been able to review all these conditions?
No, I have not.
You have not.
This is I actually heard them while we were here. I did not receive. I'm sure Michael and the guys sent them out. I did not receive them. With that said, there were just a few that I will have questions for, but we can actually, if you guys approve this tonight, we still have time to make amendments and stuff with the next meetings, so it's no big deal on that.
Yes,
part.
it will go to council after this.
At this present time, we can take that without question, other than we would like to pose that 18-month time
Sure.
for the.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the question I originally had on section D, which you don't have in front of you, but it says sites shall not be used for hotel, motel, short-term rental, or transitional housing purposes. All units shall be rented as permanent housing. What is your intent for the lease? What kind of term are you thinking on these? Are they 3 months, 6 month, year? What is your minimum lease? Your thoughts on the minimum lease for these?
Sure. Ideally, a year. However, as we are targeting professionals who are working in our hospitals, those contracts can be 3 to 6 months. So it would not hurt my feelings if we did that, even though we would intend to be looking, if they were outside of that demographic, if they're not in a professional capacity, we would be looking for no less than 6 months. I don't know if that answers your question.
Mr. Al, what is their definition of short term? Is that
Less than 30 days.
Less than 30 days. Okay.
It's
So
not
you
a
think 3 months would be, you would hold to a minimum of 3 months for a professional?
Yeah. Yes.
At the minimum?
Yes.
Just to clarify for the shaking heads in the audience, remember this is currently an operating hotel, so anything longer than that is a longer term, right?
Yeah.
So
'Cause it's daily right now.
Yeah, it is daily right now. You can go move in today, move out tomorrow. So I understand you're shaking heads. Also understand, considering our previous discussion, this is aiming for a longer term, which is what I understood you were looking for.
And again, I will repeat, it is not our intention to have it. When we have to turn over a unit, it costs us. However, when it's a beneficial to our hospitals, I think it's our duty to provide housing for those individuals.
Sure.
So, all right, 18 months start to finish. So I heard that, but I want to get a little clarity. So retail, let's break it into the retail and then the apartment side. So retail, that would be, you'd have that done within 18 months or less?
We would have that done within 18 months or less with a signature from one of our, like the LOI that we currently have. We will wait on them to execute because we're not going to break ground on that when they may change their plans or move it or make it a little larger.
So essentially 18 months from the construction permit, is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, and then to the apartment, would that be running parallel?
The apartment would run parallel with the development of the other building into
With the
the
commercial?
hotel would be running at the same time we are retrofitting the other half of the hotel.
You'd be renovating the hotel space to apartments along with the commercial in progress as
Correct.
well. And I know you were going to stagger those two, so you had, is that a 18 months collectively for both of the buildings in the back to have it completed from start to finish?
Yes.
Okay. And then the last statement that I have is I believe we have restrictions on parking. Correct, Mr. Howell? On the commercial parking, the number of parking spaces, and same thing with our the apartments.
That's correct. City council adopted a ordinance that actually dropped the parking requirements for the Ringo Road corridor for the C1, C2, and C4 to from 1.25 to 1-to-1 parking. So it actually reduced the parking.
I remember that.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, did you?
Thank you.
Okay. And would he who has amendments in mind like to propose a motion?
I make a motion to approve as long as he can meet all of the conditions that are listed on this form and Mike has read to us. How do I say that?
Well, there is also an opportunity I think we have to get a motion and a second on that one before we can continue with any alternative motion. Is that correct?
So you're saying you're making a motion to approve with the staff conditions that's
Yes.
presented?
That we just presented and is written in this form.
And I believe you do parliamentary procedure more often than me, but my understanding is you can second and with suggestions for amendments, and then
Can
we can
amend
either,
afterwards, that's correct.
Commissioner Member Witt can either make the same amendments, and that's what we're proposing, or we can vote on hers and then begin with the second one. That's my understanding?
That is correct.
Okay, then
What do you want to do?
you are proposing,
Okay, I make a motion that we approve this, and with the conditions that we have listed here and Mr. Howell has read to us, and with any other conditions that we may attach to it.
all right, we have a motion-ish.
Yeah, that,
Wrong?
No, we're good. That's close enough. We're good.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
you're looking for me, I'm gonna amend the motion.
Here we go. Okay.
An amendment that we have a minimum leased term of 3 months on section D, use restrictions, item 13.
And then I believe someone had mentioned they were interested in proposing an 18-month moratorium from the date of a construction permit to when the hotel restriction would begin, but I could be remembering that wrong.
I can add that as my amendment too. 18-month, 3-month minimum lease.
Oh, good. I heard that correctly. Okay, so Ms. Witt, as I understand it, Commissioner Member Williams is proposing an amendment to the motion.
But anybody can second it if
That's
they're
right.
interested.
So do we need a second?
I believe
make
the
another
easiest thing, whether to not have to vote on this one, is if you wanted to alter your proposed.
She could still second it.
You could
And
second.
then
Oh,
the
you could
vote
second
then-
that, and then we could vote. If you're interested in adopting the amendments he did, you could second.
I second that.
Okay. So the motion currently is to adopt this and to approve it with the amendments and the conditions required by the staff, and the amendments suggested by Commissioner Member Williams, which are in the short version of lease restriction of no less than 3 months for defining the minimum term that you can have a lease. And the second thing is that from the time that a construction permit is drawn, they have an 18-month moratorium on the restriction for the hotel usage. They continue to be an operating hotel until 18 months after the construction permit, and then they must stop operating as a hotel at that point. Now everybody's clear, and we have a motion and a second. The motion was from Commissioner Member Williams. The second was from Commissioner Member Witt. And now, Ms. Dietrich, if I can get a roll call. I'm getting a pen waved at me. Hold on.
No, I'm not waving.
Okay.
So this vote is for the amendment, then we have to vote on the actual motion.
Okay,
there's
this
two
vote is
votes.
on the amendment. Okay. So we are voting now on the amendment proposed by Commissioner Member Williams before we adopt the motion. So if we can have a roll call on the amendment, please, Ms. Dietrich.
Vice Chairperson Howe,
Yes.
Commissioner Cornelius,
Yes.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. Okay, so we have adopted the amendments proposed by Commissioner Member Williams. Now we will vote on the item 6B as amended.
Amended.
And if I can get a roll call, please, Ms. Dietrich.
Vice Chairperson Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Cornelius,
Yes.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. Thank you. I assure you that was as painful for us as it was for you. Thank you for bearing with us. Next item on the agenda, 6C, is to consider the request of Mitch Martino, Sterling Holdings, to have the property located at unaddressed property tax map ID number 169ED008, rezoned from C4 planned Commerce Center District to RZ10 lot line residential district. Mr. Howell.
Yes, so this request is to add 0 lot line residential homes to the Gateway development. Staff findings on this: the surrounding land use is a mix of residential, office, commercial, and is compatible with adjacent land uses. The surrounding development form is a mix of suburban residential development with single-family dwellings constructed within a subdivision, and a sporadic mix of apartments, offices, and schools along Spring Creek Road. North of the property is undeveloped land which falls within the protected floodway, and east of the property across I-75 is open space and a multi-use recreational facility. The request for residential subdivision is compatible with the development form. There are no nuisance concerns regarding lighting, location, or height The request to rezone is actually a down zone. The high-density residential adjacent to low-density will acquire a Type C land buffer, 10 foot in depth. The proposed density is 6.8 dwelling units. That's 68 units. Adjacent residential density is 2 dwelling units, and 17 dwelling units 17 dwelling units per acre for 128 units for the apartment. So it actually falls right there in between the middle of the single family and the apartment complex. Staff recommendation is to approve the proposed request to rezone.
Thank you. So one question right off the bat. I had been speaking earlier to our city attorney, and as I'm sure you're aware, anytime there's border region land that is commercial and somebody wants to do something not commercial with it, it gives me great pain. And so I'm always interested in not removing commercial land from our border region districts. However, in the original plan that was proposed, as I understand it, this particular downzone request was not part of the initial revenue generating portion of the plan. This was what was to be, I think, office, if I remember correctly. Do you recall?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I understood as well. That was my primary question is, are we removing good commercial land? Even though I'm no longer on the Industrial Development Board, I still care very much about our economic development. Any other questions from the commission?
You know I do, but I'll wait.
No, I'm more than happy. Go ahead, Commission Member Williams.
It's really, I'll wait.
Okay.
Because I'll need Mr. Custer or Mr. Martino up to answer this.
All right, so I believe he's going to have the applicant speak first before we have any further questions. So if there's anybody from the public who would like to speak either in favor or against this, feel free to come up and address. I see a hand. Sure, come on up. You need to provide your name and address, and if you can keep your comments 2 minutes, please.
Hey, Lisa Tester, 3621 Glen Oaks Drive. Is the property on McCall that he's talking about now? Is that?
There is not even an address. This is a blank piece of land at the moment.
Okay.
Inside the development.
That's correct. It's
Gateway
inside the development. I think it currently looks like
McCall
dirt.
is the next item on the list.
Okay, so where is he talking about doing this? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
If you look at it from a satellite, it is the highlighted blue piece of dirt. There is not an address currently. There is no road. There's nothing there.
What is it close to?
It is not close to anything at the moment, and I think that's what he's looking to do, is to make it close to development.
Is it behind yours?
Yes.
Is it behind the Sherwood or
Yes.
Nottingham? It's
my-
behind the
my
Sherwood
concern
Nottingham.
about this was that you're right there on top of, what's the subdivision? Lansdale Park.
It's at the end of it.
Yes, but what I'm saying is if they ever decided they wanted to take a shortcut through Lansdale Park so they can get to the freeway easier, it's horrible to get out at Spring Creek Road now.
There is not a
There's
connection.
not a connection.
There won't be any
Park.
connection.
No, there's not a connection there.
You
So the roads are
promise.
built by the city, so we don't have to promise the roads are built by the city, so.
And there won't be a connection to Sherwood or Nottingham either, I would
Right.
assume.
So, but Max Smith is the road that I'm talking about, because that's the other way out of Lansdale. Cracker Barrel, so we're at the same place.
And we're widening North Max Smith in front of
Mhm.
Cracker Barrel.
It's already underway.
That's already underway to
No, I'm
widen.
talking about Max Smith, not North Max, I mean, right here it is?
Basically.
So where's the McDonald's on that?
That's North Smith.
Yeah.
That's North Smith.
Which is a
Okay,
different
so
road.
this right here, is this where your other complex is gonna be they were talking about? I wanna see in relation to the map, because I agree, I think.
This is not related to the previous items we discussed. This is a different area of town.
Because I'm worried about the traffic again.
No, they have similar names. It's a different part of town from where he's discussing. It's actually the other side.
I see where it's at, because when he shows me this, I can see the street names, and it's got Hurst Street, Lansdale, I mean, it's all the streets that it abuts to.
Right, it's across Ringgold Road from where we were discussing. It's not the same,
Okay.
not the same roads.
So where's Ringgold Road?
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, I just needed to see this, because otherwise we have nothing to go by.
Sure. Yeah, there's nothing there at the moment. It is
Okay.
effectively dirt.
Where are the apartments at the end of the road?
They're next to it.
And so we're not talking about changing those at all.
Correct.
So we're gonna build something here?
That's what we're discussing. Yeah. Yeah, we'll hear from the applicant and hear what he's interested in building.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, anybody else who'd like to speak? Okay, and if a representative from the applicant would like to approach, if you can provide your name and address, please.
Absolutely. Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Mayor, Commission, thank you for having us. My name is Kenny Custer, representing Star Community Builders, 5726 Marlin Road. What we have, we've got a small rezoning of 10, 11 acres that we're looking at on the east side of the Gateway development. And as it's been referenced, adjacent to Sherwood, Nottingham, and then the North Mac Smith entrance. Ideally, if you think about our development as a whole, one of the first things in the very beginning of the development was how to maintain the continuity of Lansdale Park, right? That's still a focus for us. If you look at the development from as you enter the Gateway with the townhomes around McCall, you have existing residential to a little bit higher density residential. But then if you continue on for this development that we're talking about today, again, more residential. So if you purchased a home in Lansdale Park and grew up in Lansdale Park and lived in Lansdale Park, this is a way for us to be able to maintain that continuity. The city's made strides over the years by infill development regulations, the limitation of spot zoning to do exactly what we're trying to accomplish here with transitional zoning. So the idea of the transitional zone is we have some higher density residential with the apartment complex that is behind us. Mr. Howell, I don't recall the name of that any longer, but it's on Spring Creek Road. And then obviously the residential neighborhood that's right there around Sherwood and Nottingham. The access of this will obviously be off North Smith from Spring Creek. We've still got some design and stuff that we obviously need to go through. Looking to do this as a RZ1. RZ1 was an important zone for us to be able to do. We actually discussed with the city, had multiple meetings with Mr. Howell, Mr. Miller on whether we wanted to do a PUD, if we wanted to make some modifications, but given the challenges of the current zoning ordinance, made sense to go more with RZ1. And the importance of RZ1 for us is really the setback requirements and being able to utilize the setbacks, not necessarily the lot size. So we're around the 68 lots proposed. Obviously that can change. We'll have to bring that back before you all and once we start getting into plats, but we really want to start with this process and look at that transitional zoning and make sure we can still maintain that continuity around us. We feel like that's valuable and important, and the support of the neighborhood. We've been able to fix a lot of the flooding issues and a lot of things that plagued that area for years, and we're really happy with what we've been able to accomplish there, and we just want to continue that.
Thank you. And if you can explain why the reason for the zoning change. I mean, I do remember the master plan. It's been a bit since I've seen it, but I do think there was some rezoning took place in that area back in the discussion of the initial development. But what is the reason for the zoning change here? What's changed essentially?
Yeah, so the main thing for the zoning change here is if you look at C4 will allow us to do a lot of things. Hotels, condos, apartments, commercial retail. It allows a lot of residential component. It does not allow detached single family. So that's why I brought up the PUD and some other things that we talked about, or the plan use development, was we could modify that. We could make some changes to the overall development as things change, as the world changes. We saw that with COVID. Things just aren't the same. And it just gives us the opportunity. This gives us the opportunity to provide a different type of housing stock that is not in that area. We feel like it's a great opportunity to also enhance like Spring Creek Elementary. We can get some more housing, some more single family detached housing there.
So if I can paraphrase in the form of a question, originally this was going to be a mixed office space and residential, and then post-COVID, nobody wants office space, so now you're looking to make it residential.
Yeah, we want to maximize the opportunity of the climate, of what's available, what's in use, and what's the needs of the community.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions from the commission?
We'll turn it over to Brian. Ask questions.
All right, so I have a few questions. So if the zoning's approved, what is the plan for well, let me back up. So I do see, and I've got an old rendering, so that was one of the questions. Do you currently have a master plan for the Gateway development, with a current rendering or a master plan?
We're working on some other changes. We've got some other things that we're working through.
Okay.
We've got some documents that are signed. Those NDAs that are out there.
Okay.
But we are working on some things that we feel will be very exciting for the city, especially the community. And our mission is never changed. We've never wavered from being able to build top-class development within this community, and we're going to continue to do that. Timing may have changed a little bit, but with the direction that we're all going now and the roadway, I think we're definitely headed in that direction.
Yes. So, and then to your point with COVID, nobody wants office anymore. Everybody is a 2-3 or working totally remote. So looking at the delay of the 68, along with, and this is an old rendering, like I said, Victory Way, it does appear that a small portion of retail is going to be impacted. With the 3 lines, do you know how much of retail would be impacted?
Well, if there was retail that was going to be impacted during an old study, and like I say, that was an old study, old rendering,
Okay.
and obviously things change on a regular basis, you also pick up some of the other side there, because if you'll think about that, that wasn't a property that was owned during the original package that was put together. So there's also
Okay.
some shift and change in the size of the development.
Cool. And I do like the single family.
So you're saying subsequent acquisitions have made
Absolutely.
a new retail space
and
available?
Then you can move things around and make sure that it fits. And we want it to flow, because, I mean, this is something we're not looking to throw up overnight, but we want to make sure that we get this done and it's there for the next 100 years, and it's something that we can all be proud of.
So that leads me to another question. So you said we. So is this something that you as, Star Community Builders are planning on building, or are you going to sell these lots out and let some other developer develop these? What is your?
So we're putting together the packages. Obviously, we're not there yet. We're working on some other things that we'll be presenting once we come and get the actual subdivision, and we break down all the regulations and everything that we're going to provide within the subdivision. And then at that time, we'll be able to provide more information and documentation on how those are going to be
So
constructed.
you could sell some or all of the lots out.
Could.
Okay. What is your anticipated size? Bed, bath, garage, amenities for the?
So those are still in design. Obviously, we have the lot size that's pretty much, we've pretty much got it down, but we've got everything else in design. We didn't want to get too far down the road in other engineering work until we get through this very first infant step of the rezoning.
When would you anticipate having that? Or is it going to determine on the approval of the rezoning before you can release that information?
The rezoning is what's the most important, because without the rezoning, we'll go back to designing something else.
But you would feel it'd be a minimum of a 2 or 3 bedroom, 2 bath?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I know that you stated that they were originally in the plan, going back to it, there was 400 apartments / condo units. Would the addition of these 68, would they still be, you still considering the 400 apartments / condos, or does that take away of some of that by these 68 single-family units being built?
That could shift a little bit. We
Okay.
want to make sure that we have a nice variety, and it's going to be obviously market-driven to see what everybody wants. And the whole idea of the development, I think we've all discussed this in great depth, is, it's also the transitional living environment. We're wanting a community. I like to say a downtown community, but everybody understands what I'm saying. If we can build this community where it's a true live, work, play, you can come in, you can buy a single family home. If you want to transition into a luxury apartment, you may have that opportunity, or a townhome living environment. So there's a lot of different choices that will be offered, and that's what we want. We want to create the variety to have as many people that want to come and live there and really enjoy everything that the community will have to offer.
And I get that. That's why I've asked the questions
Absolutely.
as well. And since you mentioned the townhome, so is still 144 planned?
That's what's still on the plan right now, but we're
Okay.
making some modifications to the south end of the development with the road changes, and also with the residence in. So there could be some modification to some of those and a road alignment.
How many do you have completed? Do you know off the top of your head?
12.
Or 12? Okay. I know you've had some issues with sewer. We've had some discussions about that. Do you think, now I believe those are now getting toward the end of resolution there. So how much more do you have left on the stadium? I know this is off topic, but it is the same development, and the infrastructure.
Well, same development, different entities, obviously. Infrastructure is obviously held, well, I say held. It is in the final stages of review with another entity. Once that entity completes their review, Unfortunately, it has to go through TDEC and other people now because of the consent decree that was signed. Once that's up, then we're already prepared to move forward with that. So it's just, you got to have those approvals before you can do anything else.
Okay. I think that's my list.
I just have a question. On these homes that you're building, I know you're building a pool and different things for your townhomes. Will these people be included in being able to use those amenities? if they buy?
We anticipate the community will have its own amenities. So each community side will have their own amenities.
Oh, okay.
And it won't be shared amongst the groups because they'll have their own.
So since there's none pictured on this development, I'm assuming you're planning an additional phase that would share amenities?
Absolutely.
Which is why there's a road that goes to nowhere currently. I see. Any further questions? Ms. Howell, Mr. Cornelius?
I don't have any.
Good. Okay, thank you. All right, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Witt and a second from Vice Chairperson Howe. Roll call, please, Ms. Dietrich.
Vice Chairperson Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Cornelius,
Abstain.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. Okay, the next item on the agenda, 6D, is to consider the request of Mitch Martino, Sterling Holdings, to have the property located at 6419 McCall Road, tax map ID number 169ED005, rezoned from R2 Duplex District to C4 Planned Commerce Center District. Mr. Howell.
Yes, this is the last remaining parcel on the McCall Road, not Zone C4 into the Gateway Development. Staff findings for this property to the north and east of the site is being developed as mixed-use development. And the proposed rezoning will include the development compatibility with adjacent land uses. The surrounding development form is mixed suburban residential development with single-family dwellings constructed within a subdivision and a sporadic mix of apartments, offices, and schools along Spring Creek Road. North of the property is undeveloped land which falls in the protected floodway. East of the property across I-75 is open space and multi-use residential facility. The request for a residential subdivision is compatible with the development form. Concerns regarding location, lighting, and height are as follows. The property will be required to comply with landscaping, parking, lighting requirements to mitigate nuisance in adjacent property. Staff recommends approval of the proposed rezoning request.
Okay. This may be the most reading we've ever had to do in a planning commission meeting, so.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Thank you for your cooperation. Mr. Custer, you might as well have a seat. I believe we'll have feedback from the audience.
Apologize.
Is there anybody who would have a question? Are you sure? I heard McCall Road. It seemed like a trigger term for an audience question. If you don't mind providing your name and address, please.
Lisa Tester, 3621 Glen Oaks Drive.
Yes, ma'am. This one's on McCall Road.
I'm just concerned about the traffic. I know we keep bringing that about, but we travel this road daily on
Sure.
Ringgold Road. And so it's just gotten to be a huge problem, even on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I grew up in Harris Hills, and I live in Glen Oaks now. So I travel, and I take care of my mom up there. So I travel this road daily multiple times, and it's just terrible. And so that's why I'm just wondering if if McCall Road is going to feed out anywhere through any of these streets. And now I got them straight North Smith Street or down Hurst Street onto Spring Creek Road. There's no lights there. I think at the minimum.
I believe I think there's about to be lights there. Is that the case?
What's that?
Is that part of the redevelopment? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I won't speak for you. You had a comment.
Just saying is there any plan to have traffic lights there? Because you really can't get out at either one of those subdivision markers from 3 o'clock until 7 o'clock.
So let me back up to the first question, and it's really for these two gentlemen down here to speak to. But my understanding is from the very beginning, there would never be egress out of the Gateway project into Lansdale or Sherwood. So none of those streets that you mentioned, Hurst, Lansdale, they would not be coming out from the Gateway project.
For the McCall development that is right there on McCall Road.
And that development is actually being rezoned for C4. So that's going to be incorporated into their actual Gateway project.
Okay, so McCall Road, they will take that part of McCall Road.
They're not taking the road, they're taking that property that's adjacent to McCall.
And so there will
Again,
not be-
they need to be saying.
They won't have an opening then onto McCall Road for anybody to come that way.
Yeah, hold on, we'll have the developer speak to that.
Yes.
So that's your question? Is where's the egress? Okay, if we can have the developer, thank you, ma'am. If we can have the developer come and address that, please. Where's the ingress and egress? How does this affect traffic flow patterns in the area?
Yeah, so ideally, we want to maintain most of the traffic flow with inside the development to be able to travel, obviously through the two North Smith connections, because we all know there's a North Smith, there's another North Smith, and we're connecting those in the middle with other roads and names and arteries that'll run through there. However, on the townhome side, there is a current entrance to the provided to the townhomes.
On
off of-
Hibiscus Lane?
Yes,
Yeah,
off
right.
of McCall. Obviously, there's a few residents there now. It's not readily used. The traffic light and signals are what most people are going to want to use because you're going to be able to go to Spring Creek once that design gets done. And obviously, the traffic study that was done for Mac Smith and the road widening project, which is currently underway, all of that was preemptively done to prepare for where we're going now.
Sure.
So-
I think the audience question was around this portion that we're looking to consideration for R2 to C4 that's on McCall. Will that have any egress onto McCall?
That's going to, all that is an actual, that's the last little piece that we didn't own, and we're tying that into the rest of our current development that we already have.
I don't think that answers the question. Would that
So-
have an entrance onto McCall?
It's not designed. That
Okay.
piece is not designed yet. But if it's designed like the remaining of the development, then
Then that
the
would have to go
goal
through a
was to-
separate city
but
approval
yes.
for a connection, et cetera. So in other words, this is just about the zoning. The connections are a separate city body. The planning commission only determines whether the fitment is appropriate for the area and the land use with feedback from the neighbors, the law, et cetera. We don't determine where a curb cut goes or what roads connect to what roads. We
That's
only
correct.
speak to the fitment of the use. And any further plans that would identify access, egress, ingress, fire truck access, et cetera, is a separate body.
That's correct. It comes with
Okay.
the site plan submittal, review, and then feedback before permitting.
Thank you. Okay, I'm seeing general satisfaction from the audience, so thank you for clarification. Anyone else?
Well, wanted to answer her question concerning streetlights. That's a TDOT. It's a Tennessee, that's a state highway, so they're the one that controls the traffic light. The city cannot. Ringgold.
Ringgold Road is a
Ringgold
state
Road.
highway.
So we're in the process of widening North Max Smith, which is the Cracker Barrel. Okay, coming out by where it used to be East Ridge Residence, all the way out. It'll end up being 5 lanes at Ringgold Road. It'll narrow down as it goes. Then we're also working on right-of-way and stuff for Spring Creek for the widening of it from the bridge all the way over to Park Ridge.
And that's
So
not a state
that's a
highway,
later
but
phase,
It's a
but that's-
functionally classified road.
Yeah.
So
So that would answer those two questions that you brought up.
Which is why I was saying that was in development, is the planned egress is not what you're thinking. The planned egress is something that's already been approved and is already moving, but isn't there yet, so you can't see it, but I know what you're asking, so.
That answer your question? Okay.
The beauty of, I think, 10-ish years on this board is I have the misfortune of remembering all of it, so. Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Chairperson Howe and a second from Commission Member Witt. Get a roll call, please, Ms. Dietrich.
Vice Chairperson Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Cornelius,
Abstain.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. All right, thank you for joining us. That's the end of the new business. This meeting is adjourned.